More than 1 billion people cannot use a GMT watch. It's not because they wouldn't know how to use it, it's just that arbitrary time zones make it impossible. You see, GMT watches will show you simultaneously the time in Paris and New York, but not in London and Mumbai. They can show you simultaneously the time in Tokyo and Los Angeles, but not in Madrid and Caracas. And that's because the green time zones on this map are offset to the GMT by half-hour increments. This is a problem impossible to solve using a GMT watch. For this, you need a dual timer, like this one. For the past 3 years, Vesuviate's mission is to show the world the versatility of the square case. The successful Attivo 3-hander was followed up by the most affordable automatic chrono on the market and, at the end of 2023, my personal favorite, this duplex model that not only is in my opinion the most balanced of the trio, but marks a very important update that shows just how much YK, its creator, cares about offering the best possible watch for the money. A discreet watch, this is not. On wrist, its 39 by 46 mm footprint will look closer to what a 43-44 mm round case would look like. The high contrast between the mirror-polished sloped bezel and the satin brushing of the fins on either side of the case and the downturned lugs helps with giving the overall package a very luxurious aspect, very well complemented by the quality of the finishing. This is one very smooth watch, and it creates a very interesting contradiction between senses. Your eyes and skin tell your brain this should weigh lighter than your actual perception. Not saying that this at 160 grams is a heavy watch, it just feels substantial. The side of the case sees the brushed half guard being very well used to break the polished finish, accentuating the thinness of its 11.5mm profile. Of course, the mirror polishing anticipates huge headaches, the much feared scratches. And this is where Vesuviate's owner's engineering background comes into play. You see, this is not just 316L stainless steel. This isn't even 316L stainless steel covered with a protective coating. No. This is 316L stainless steel whose chemical structure is thermally altered to ensure an imperviousness to scratches of 1200 Vickers. This is a process that only one other company I know of employs, and I'm talking about Zine with the 10% extra attachment option for selected watches in their catalog. So yeah, for a microbrand to be able to offer this as a standard is truly remarkable. There are 6 different colors to choose the dial from, and I have already mentioned my belief that this is the most balanced use of the Attivo range dial estate. There's an asymmetric symmetry, if I may, that makes this dial look organic. It creates points of interest that draw your focus in and therefore make the watch appear much smaller than it is. The contrast between the sun ray surface of the 2 sub-dials and the dynamic sand dune-like texture of the main plate makes for a very nice contemplation exercise in creating patterns by linking them. There are times when I see 2 thin horizontal layouts, there are times when I see them vertical, and there are times when I see a diagonal hourglass. Looking at it dead on, it's kinda flat, making the applied text levitate under the AR-coated sapphire crystal, but turn it ever so slightly and the applied markers and needle-like hands spring to life. The case back deserves its separate entry as it looks like a steel-encased exhibit of advanced 60s technology exposed in a museum. I would love a decorative blow-up of this case back on my wall next to a framed picture of Neil Armstrong's footprint. The two Peacock SL7020 calibers we can peer at under the sapphire crystals run at 28,800 VPH, have a day and a half worth of power reserve, and can be independently adjusted using the two signed screw-down crowns that, in combination with the 4 screws holding the case in place, will ensure a resistance to water pressure down to 100 meters. The fully articulated bracelet continues the theme of contrasts between the mirror polishing and the satin brushing. Although the quick-release spring bars are 16 mm in length, the bracelet extends to the edge of the lugs at 24 mm before tapering down to 20 mm over the first 3 links. Male end links shouldn't be a concern, as any wrist large enough to pull this watch off will be large enough to avoid an overhang. If anything, on the proper size wrist, the male end links will ensure a very nice curvature of the bracelet. I would say it's impossible not to get a perfect fit of the Attivo Duplex, and that's because of 3 factors. First, the links are quite narrow. Second, the micro adjustment system can cover 1.5 links. Third, the micro adjustment system can be operated without tools, as it's an on-the-fly system. This here is the biggest improvement to the previous models beyond subjective aesthetical considerations. This brand new clasp also does a great job at balancing the head of the watch both stylistically and weight-wise. Before showing the watch on my wrist, a word on the packaging. It's obvious that both Vesuviate and Trasca have visited the same factory when updating their presentations. What's puzzling is that the least expensive of the 2 watches has the better quality pouch. Actually, considering the hype around Trasca, whose commuter I have also reviewed, this is not really puzzling, no, is it? On my 19cm wrist, the watch wears almost perfectly. I guess the Goldilocks would be a 20cm wrist, but any wrist between 7 and 9 inch should be able to sport this one. It should also be noted that people averse to metal bracelets, as my friend Mr. B, have the option to buy what seems to be a great fitted leather strap on Vesuviate's website. So, should your wrist measure up? Should you ignore, consider, shortlist, or buy this watch? As always, it comes down to what you need and what you like. I have already stated this at the beginning of the review. No GMT in the world can do what this watch can, so there's a clear, unique selling point from a practical point of view. From the subjective point of view of fancying a square watch, there are not many offerings out there, particularly for the larger wrists. If you're on the fence, the best thing to do is to shortlist the Attivo Duplex. Wait for a reviewer whose wrist size is closer to yours or showcases a color you might like better, and consider the 10% discount members of this community get, regardless of their status as subscribers or not. Although I would prefer it if you were a subscriber. Alternatively, you can check my review of this watch or this duel between 2 fantastic alternatives. And stay tuned for my upcoming review of a watch 6 years in the making. Thank you. Be well.